probably heard people say they just don't build them like they used to.
I say it myself sometimes, and when it comes to older homes, that saying is true for a number of reasons.
Today on PowerHouse, we'll explore ways to save energy, especially in an older home.
We'll review some things to look for and be cautious of when buying an older home.
We'll also discuss how you can take advantage of existing features of an older home, as well as options to update for energy efficiency.
That's all coming up next on This Old PowerHouse.
The curb appeal and charm of older homes can be undeniable. When I bought my family home, I definitely gravitated toward a house with traditional styling and solid turn-of-the-century construction. Many older homes are great examples of superior craftsmanship and materials.
And Megan, this home is certainly that. It's well made and definitely stands the test of time in design and structure. One of the challenges for older homes is that they seldom have and may not be able to fully integrate new materials like high-efficiency heating, ventilation and cooling systems, or the highest rated insulation.
The great thing is, extensive remodels or upgrades to your older home are not always necessary for you to maximize energy efficiency. Let's start by taking stock of what you got when you purchased an older home. Older homes were, by necessity, designed and constructed using different techniques and materials than newer homes. Older homes have environmentally friendly features that might include thick walls, light-reflecting finishes, operable windows and shutters, strategically placed vents, windows, and transoms, awnings or porches to provide shade and cooling, and a structure composed mostly of locally sourced materials. Because of these unique features, your energy-saving efforts need to take a thoughtful, whole-house approach. You'll maximize efficiency and preserve the integrity of your older home if you work with the passive or manual temperature control features already built in.
To make meaningful improvements, you need to have a baseline of where to begin. The best way to do that is with a whole house energy audit. This process will help you identify air leaks, HVAC system issues, or structural challenges and help you create a roadmap of where and how to make best improvements. Choose a company with experience in assessing older structures. Avoid companies whose ultimate goal is to sell you something like new windows or an HVAC system. Their first priority may be a sale rather than helping you maximize what you currently have. A comprehensive audit will take into account your last 12 months of utility expenses to help identify room for improvement, so have those records available. A thorough audit can take a few hours and the cost can vary widely depending on the size and complexity of your home. The national average is about $250 for a 1,200 square foot home. The auditor will use a variety of tests and tools to measure your home's efficiencies and issues. Blower door tests, airflow tests, and infrared temperature sensors are all tools of the trade, and each helps you identify problem areas for which solutions can then be suggested.
Air infiltration, air leaks, through gaps, cracks, or poorly sealed portals to your home, like your doors and windows, can raise your energy costs. They let your conditioned air escape, and they let the outside air in. Many of these problem areas will likely be uncovered by an energy audit, but there are some common areas you can check and improve using sealing products from your local home improvement store. Look for gaps and feel for drafts or air leaks around crawl spaces, chimney flues, attic accesses, service entrances for electrical, gas, cable TV, and phone service lines, around window air conditioning units, through electrical outlets, outdoor water faucet entrances, cracks in bricks, siding, stucco, and the foundation, dryer vents, and especially around door and window frames. Depending on the location and materials needed to fix the leaks, you may want to consult a restoration specialist to help you maintain the original integrity of your structure. In some cases, you can take action on your own. After sealing up obvious drafts, you can cut down on air leaks with simple actions, like closing curtains, blinds, or shades in cold weather. You can reduce drafts under doors with draft stoppers or with a simple rolled-up towel. When not in use, a closed fireplace damper or an inflatable device that fills the flue opening can keep cold air from entering the chimney, but just make sure to remove it before using your fireplace.
The stories homeowners tell about the insulation or lack of insulation found in their older homes are legendary. Original insulating materials may have included newspapers, fabric, corn cobs, or even bricks tucked inside the walls. In some cases, the walls may not contain insulation at all. Adding high-performance insulation to the walls of a structure that wasn't designed for it can be problematic. It should be done carefully and with particular attention to ventilation, air sealing, and wiring considerations, and might require the advice and assistance of a restoration specialist. Wall insulation may not give you the bang for your buck that more straightforward improvements like attic insulation, air sealing, furnace tune-ups, and other high-priority energy-saving techniques may provide. Tackle those first, then measure your results. And when you're ready, get advice from an expert on what to do next.
Keeping an older home, or any home, in good operating condition will improve its energy efficiency. Monitor for issues and repair them promptly and correctly to keep extreme temperatures, pests, or water from doing damage.
A little time and effort can make a big difference in your home's energy efficiency and longevity. Additional information on energy savings for older homes can be found by searching on epa.gov or on our website at powerhousetv.com.
Taking on an older home requires going into the purchase with your eyes wide open to the benefits and the challenges of living in and maintaining an older structure. I definitely love my historic home and many of its features, but I will say that when we had the house inspected before buying, we watched for items that we'd need to quickly upgrade or treat with special care until we determined whether replacing them was necessary or even possible. Some of those items have to do with electricity. Now let's start by talking about knob and tube wiring. If your house was built before 1950, there's a chance it may have an older type of wiring. In the basement, look up. You may notice wires running through porcelain cylinders or tubes inserted through the floor joists, with porcelain knobs placed strategically to keep the lines taut and secure, preventing them from touching the wood. This type of wiring does not have a ground wire. The wire itself is often insulated with rubber, which can break down, become brittle, and break off over time. While this type of wiring is not inherently dangerous, and there is no code that requires its complete removal, a degrading system may need to be removed and replaced at some point. While average costs for this can run from $3,000 to $8,000, more complicated installations may range into the mid-teens. Another thing to consider with older wiring is its ability to support our modern electronics-heavy household needs. These houses weren't wired with multiple televisions and computers and gaming systems and other high-demand electronics in mind. The service panel and circuit breakers will likely reflect that. Upgrading the service panel and associated breakers and wiring may be necessary to better service the electrical needs of your family and their devices. An obvious sign of an older wiring system is the lack of grounded outlets. Now, most of us are used to seeing three-pronged outlets with each plug having two narrow rectangular holes and one semicircular hole for the grounding prong of the plug. In an ungrounded outlet, only the two rectangular holes are present, being the hot wire and the neutral wire, with no ground wire. A properly grounded outlet is considered safer and is much less likely to create a shock or fire hazard should a short circuit occur. In an older home, the inspectors will want to check the outlets to make sure that they're grounded, even if they have three-prong receptacles. There are various workarounds to ungrounded outlets, but the safest approach is to properly ground them by having them rewired by an electrician. It is important and required in some areas of your home, like the kitchen and the bath, to have a ground fault circuit interrupter installed. These outlets can detect when more current is coming in on the hot wire than is exiting on the neutral wire. The interrupter pops and cuts the power to the circuit. When thinking about older homes, it's important to consider safety. That includes understanding if an older home has lead paint. Meet Lee Hager. Lee is a Housing Rehabilitation Program Coordinator, and he's here to give us some perspective on this issue. We're in a home now that is undergoing a restoration process, and one of the first things that they want to do is to test for lead-based paint presence in the house. And Lee, can you explain to us what are the dangers of having lead-based paint in your home?
Well, it can cause health problems for children, adults, and even pets.
What kind of health problems?
Children can have low IQ. It can affect their attention span or growth problems and stuff. Adults, it can affect their kidneys, high blood pressure, and pets can get delirious and what have you.
That's really scary. Are there any physical ailments that we might say, oh, that's what's going on?
No, you really can't determine that by just symptoms. You got to really have a blood test done.
And that's why it's so important.
Correct.
What types of homes are candidates for having lead-based paint?
Any house built before 1978.
So how do I know if I have lead-based paint in my home?
You really can't tell by looking. You have to have it tested. There's 3 ways to test it. One is a test kit that you can buy at your local hardware store. Homeowners can do that. A lead inspector can cut out the areas that are painted, send it off to a lab and get tested. Or there's the XRF test, which is an X-ray gun that a local health department or a professional can come and put up to the surface, and it gives you immediate results.
All right, let's back up to the one that the homeowner can do themselves. How does that test kit work?
It's 2 vials that comes in the test kit, and you actually score the wall or the baseboard or whatever that you're trying to test. You score it, get all the way through it, and then you rub this vial on there, and if it turns red, then it's lead-based paint.
Okay, so let's say that a homeowner determines they do have lead-based paint in their home. What can they do about it?
Well, they can correct it themselves, or they can hire a professional.
Now, to correct it myself, what does that entail?
Homeowners are going to just make it safe. You're going to scrape it down to where it's no longer chipping or peeling, and then you'll paint over top of it. If you do it yourself, you're going to want to learn how to do it safely. Making sure that the kids are out of the house, pets are away from it. When I say scraping it, you're going to do what they call a wet scraping. So you're going to spray it with water, and then so the dust isn't going into the air. There's plenty of resources online, or they can call their local city, county, or state, and they'll be happy to help you out. There's also classes out there that they can take to learn how to do it.
Good, so nobody should be afraid of doing it. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money.
No, it really doesn't. A little bit of elbow grease and some gallons of paint.
Okay, now an abatement process means getting rid of the paint altogether. So if I wanted that bare wood look in my house, that's an expensive process, and it really does require professionals to do it.
Yes, it does, because it takes an abatement contractor to do that. So they're going to cost a little bit more to come in, and because they're dealing with a hazard material.
Good information, thank you.
You bet.
You know, old homes can be a joy, but there are also a lot of considerations, like the presence of lead-based paint. Don't be afraid to lean on the knowledge of professionals when something like this arises to make your PowerHouse not only efficient, but safe as well.
When you move into your new old house, it can be tempting to quickly upgrade significant items. You want to assure yourself you have the latest technology working for you and helping you save energy. But is that always the best move? When it comes to the windows in your house, you may want to pause for some reflection. Meet Tom Casey from Hometown Restyling. He's been helping homeowners save energy for over 30 years. Tom, we know windows can be a big source of energy loss in a home, yet if I have an older home, I love the look of my old windows and I want to stay with it, there are things we can do, right?
Absolutely. One of the first things that we try and evaluate is what style of windows are in the home now. Are they have the double hung windows, the one that go up and down? Are they sliders that go back and forth? Or are they a casement style here that crank out? So you kind of try and find the aesthetics of the home, trying to find out what your wants and needs are as a homeowner. If the main objective is to basically improve what you have but not go to the expense of new, then there's some things we can look at.
Okay, so I've got an older home, maybe before 1970s. What are some of the options in terms of improving my older windows?
First thing I want to find out is how long you're planning to be in there, so you do, basically can recoup your investment. One of the things to look at that point is the glazing. Is that a source of air infiltration where air is coming in around that?
Because it's single pane,
Yes, sir.
old style single pane. So we want to try to seal that each pane here, going around on the edge and glazing that way, right?
Yeah, it's a time-consuming process. You got to go through and take a knife and cut that glazing out, clean it up as much as you can so we've got a good source for our new glazing putty to be rolled back into. Then what they'll do is they'll take the glazing putty. If you picture silly putty, it's going to be a very similar type product and how it's applied. Roll it into like a rope form, push it in between the wood and the glass, and then it seals to that glass and cuts down on the air that's coming in around the glass frame. Down in that corner there, down by you, it shows where one's been replaced and gives it a nice clean look.
Yeah, that is very nice. You bet, you bet. And on the outside, this is where we consider a storm window during the wintertime?
Absolutely. According to government numbers, they tell us that the only thing you have is just a single pane glass, 0 degrees outside, 68 degrees in your house. This will be about 10 degrees. By adding that storm window, you're going to bring that up to 17. So it definitely raises that glass temperature, which means less condensation, warmer house, much better solution. By putting all the new putty and glazing in around the outside, it's going to stop that air that's infiltrating around the sash, and that would be a big, from an air infiltration side, how to make older windows more energy efficient. What we see a lot more of in today's market, people will have insulated glass already. So from the 70s new, one of the things I encourage people to look at is, how well does the window operate? How well does it keep that air outside? Because one of the things we find regularly is moisture in between the panes of glass, but everything else is in good shape. Instead of going to all the expensive replacing new windows, you can simply put new pieces of thermal pane glass in there and definitely improve the view and the energy efficiency.
Okay, so again, some real options, and here, double pane.
Yep, this is a double pane. You hear terms in the industry, double pane, triple pane. There's back and forth on which is better. Personally, with today's glass technology, the fact that I can get the Energy Star seal without the weight of triple pane, to me is a much better value. And they do that by using reflective coatings on the glass. The term is low emissivity glass that reflects the heat back towards the source. Most of the layers go on the outside piece of glass, but now put it on the interior helps keep that glass temperature warmer, reduces condensation, and improves energy efficiency.
So a lot of options here. I can try to repair my old window. If I have to go to a new window like this and I've got my older home, how do you work with that homeowner to understand you got to put new windows in?
So I always try and put myself in the homeowner's shoe. How long are they going to be in the house? What's important to them from an aesthetic standpoint? Do they want to keep it original? Do they want to go to a more modern look? Are they trying to match their interior trim? So there's so many different things to look at. Another thing that we look at is egress. Is it going to meet fire code? So there's lots to consider.
Okay, a lot of variables in there, Tom. And I imagine then dollars if I'm one window versus a lot of windows. Can you ballpark that a little for us?
Yeah, if we're going to start at a basic white-on-white window, professionally installed, you're going to be at that $600 range on up. Where if you're going to go to some of the new modern black exteriors and custom stain the interior, you can get over $2,000, $2,500 a window if you try.
A sizable investment, right? You mentioned installation. Leave that to the professionals.
Absolutely. I tell all my customers, you don't want me installing it. We've got people that come in and know what they're doing, because the most efficient window in the world is not going to do its job if it's not installed correctly.
Yeah, so the installation, and then we get everything around that window. So again, the cold air stays out, the warmer air stays inside the house.
Absolutely.
Well, Tom, you've given us great perspective. It's a big decision with a sizable investment. Thanks for that information. And to our viewers, make sure you get some advice so you can make the best decision for your PowerHouse. We have Tom Casey from Hometown Restyling back with us again, and Tom's got some great insights on re-siding older homes. Tom, thanks for joining us again.
Happy to.
So, re-siding an older home, good idea or bad idea?
It's a great idea. Now, this house had aluminum siding on it. One of the things the homeowner could have done, depending on the issues they had with the old aluminum, how beat up it was, how well it was staying on the house, they could have just had it primed and cleaned and repainted was an option, but you're still dealing with 70s technology and really wouldn't have changed anything from a resale standpoint. From there, they could have looked at just a traditional vinyl siding from a maintenance-free standpoint, and it would have helped some on the impact standpoint.
Your crew's working on the siding in this house. Walk us through the process, Tom.
So in this particular home, what we did is we removed the existing aluminum siding. We put up a house wrap and then an insulation. The insulation helps flatten out the wall, so if we were going over wood siding, that would help level out the wood siding so we got a flat surface to work on. And then here, put the new Ascend siding up.
And that's a new product that you're pretty excited about. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
This is really the most exciting thing I've seen in the siding industry in a very long time. It's a glass-infused polymer. The glass particles, they give it structural integrity from a wind load, from a heat-resistant standpoint. Let's really bring a lot of vibrant colors to the market. It's got over 20 colors that are really eye-catching.
And it has that older home wood look to it.
It does. It's got the deep graining to really try and simulate that wood look and maintain its value. The stack lock design that it comes with helps from a wind load standpoint, so we don't have to worry about it being in the neighbor's yard. Very moisture resistant, and then with the graphite infused polystyrene on the back, definitely adds from the R value. When you start thinking about a stud wall, 2x4 wall is typically going to be in that R4, 4.5 range. For us to get an R2 just on this product, or when you combine the insulation that we put up there and an R3 to the exterior of the house wall, they're definitely going to see some energy benefits. You think about how well that styrofoam coffee cup protects your hand from the heat, it's going to do the same thing from an insulation standpoint.
Well, we like that. Again, winter months, keeping the warm air on the inside and the cold air on the outside. Again, it's good to hear about that R2 factor. Let's talk a little bit about the product cost efficiency.
From a price standpoint, it is a premium product. Generally, it's going to run probably twice what just a basic vinyl siding will run.
But last longer, you're looking.
Absolutely. To maintain its value, its look, from a longevity standpoint, I feel it's going to last twice as long, and you've got the deep, rich colors that you just don't get with basic vinyls.
All right. Well, Tom, thanks for giving us your perspective. And if you'd like more energy saving and home improvement tips, visit our website at PowerHouseTV.com. We hope you safely enjoyed this time-tested edition of PowerHouse.
We talked about ways to keep your older home energy efficient.
We shared key things to keep an eye on for safety as you invest in an older home.
We explored options to keep your old windows working, and we explored when it's time for new windows.
And we heard about exterior upgrades that can keep the look of an older home while adding energy-saving benefits.
Visit PowerHouseTV.com for additional tips and information on making and keeping your older home energy efficient. After all, every powerhouse should be timeless.